Hey, welcome to another episode of Clear Light Connections, where we talk to the people behind the businesses and brands of Bay Area Houston, proudly sponsored by UTMB Health. Special guest today, Amanda, you are with the Bay Area Alliance for Youth.
And families.
And families. You're a great organization, well known in the community. Tell us what your mission is and a little bit about the organization.
Well, the Alliance serves, supports, and inspires students and families to build a healthier community for all. We've been in existence since 2003, so going on almost 20 years. And we support our community through a number of initiatives that are all geared toward making our community a little safer, a little healthier for our kids.
And you had a really tight relationship with the school district.
So technically, we are a department of Clear Creek ISD. They actually wrote the initial grants that funded the Alliance in 2003. They're still our fiscal agent for state and federal grants. We also have our own 501c3, and we have a board of directors, as well as an MOU with Friendswood ISD. And so it allows us to serve both school districts in a really unique capacity. And yes, our partnership is critical to our success.
And what are those services that you...
So we do a number of things. One is an evidence-based curriculum support group that we do with students. It's usually 6 to 12 students per facilitator at a time. And we work with kids who have been identified as at risk. And it's not, the old adage used to be... If you're as old as I am, you can think back to those commercials. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions, And so we've kind of made a shift, right? That it's not enough to just say drugs are bad for you. It's how do we help kids build their resistance skills? How do we help them have goals so that they don't want anything to interfere with the possibility of reaching those goals? And so that's what our curriculum-based support group focuses on. We also have a leadership program at Clearview High School called SALSA. It stands for Student Adult Leadership Service Alliance. And basically we partner students with community adults, and they tackle different projects on their campus and in the community. And that's been going on since 2014. And so that's always an exciting project. I know you were part of a pilot we did this year at Clear Lake High School called Circle of Care. Mm-hmm. We partnered 3 community adults with a student who had been identified with some needs to try to address some of the things that will hopefully help them make a successful transition into adulthood. So those are just a few of the projects that we do that serve our school district.
Yeah, Circle of Care was interesting to me because it made me realize some of that stuff I haven't even told my own kids, and it kind of made me think I need to go back and. So it's got some really good information in it.
Well, one of the things when we started SALSA, that it was founded on a grant through the state, and they were very focused on something called transition to adulthood, and I kept thinking, what do you mean? What does that mean? And so the more we began to dig, one of the key pieces of that transition was kids not knowing how to transition when it came to healthcare. So they did not know how to make their own doctor's appointments, didn't know how to refill a prescription, weren't comfortable advocating for their own healthcare needs. And so I think that it was a component. It's one of the sessions in that Circle of Care, because I think what would it be like to just be kind of left out there, and you don't know if you have insurance or what the insurance card is, or and also just empowering kids to be able to say, doctor, yes, I know you prescribed me this medicine, but it makes me feel weird. Mm-hmm. How can we do something differently? And so I've had kids come back to me and go, Miss Amanda, you'll never believe it. Like, I told my mom to sit outside and wait, and I went into the doctor's office by myself. And that was empowering to them.
Yeah.
That's great.
So tell us about, so you've mentioned grants several times, and you've received several of those, but yes. Talk about the 501c3 and kind of how you guys raise money there and what you do.
As anyone who knows grants probably understands, especially when you're talking about state and federal dollars, oftentimes there's a match requirement attached. So our funding this year from the Health and Human Services Commission is somewhere in the neighborhood of $850,000. Well, they're happy to give us that money, but they want to see us put up something in return. And so it's a 5% match requirement. And so, of course, then you have to raise the money in order to demonstrate that you have that match. And so for many years, and you guys supported this, we did a run over the NASA bypass. And it was a great run, no pun intended. But several years ago, we kind of switched our focus. And so we're about to go into our 4th season of Dancing with the Stars Bay Area, where we partner basically 12 local celebrities. And they work with professional choreographers and dance their hearts out for the Mirrorball Trophy. So we're excited about that coming up on September 10th.
And that's grown by
Oh,
leaps
wow.
and bounds.
Yes, it has. Absolutely. We have actually outgrown South Shore Harbor. So we'll be at the Doyle Center this year. And it is beyond our wildest imagination, if I'm honest. And so we're super excited about the success. But, it's also like I've met so many people that I don't know that I would have ever crossed paths with because they were just crazy enough to say yes to this crazy idea we had and have participated. And so we've had some really great folks come through as dancers over the last few years. And
well, and it's a very unique format. And I think that's where a lot of nonprofits struggle is trying to find something cookie cutter that, everybody does. And it sounds like maybe you guys as a team decided, you know what, we're going to try something very different.
Well, I came to the Alliance at the very end of 2010, and we did not yet have our own 501c3, but we're still challenged to raise funds. And so it was kind of hard to be sort of not a new organization, but new to the fundraising in the Bay Area. Well, it's, we have a lot of fabulous nonprofits in our community. So how do you set yourself apart? And so I'll say that was a big struggle for us for a number of years. And so when I presented this to my board, most of them thought I had lost my mind. And when I went to some of the initial dancers and asked, I thought they probably, well, no, they did. They were like, sure, mate, I'll do it, because I think they thought it would never happen. Chris Reed is one of them. He was one of the first people that I asked. And, I think in the end he had a great time and, said he would do it again. But, without that first cast that believed that this could be something, we wouldn't be here for sure.
Yeah. Tell me about, you've always got a good, strong board. When I look at, tell me about how you develop those relationships and get people to say yes to that.
I think that board service is one of the biggest ways that our community leaders can give back, because I think we need the voice of experienced leaders to help us sort of shape our boards. When I first came on, we had a board of 36, if you can imagine, which is a little large for a nonprofit. And so we set about sort of restructuring and recreating and finding people who had a passion for kids. I think that is the number one requirement to be on our board. But then I think finding people that have balancing strengths, because if we have all fundraisers, then we have no worker bees or, that kind of thing. And so it's been a unique experience to see our board grow, at least over the last 11 years that I've been here. And I would say it's definitely the strongest it's ever been right now. And thankfully we have some people who've been with our board for many, many years since its inception. And then we have some really young leaders. I'm also excited to say we have a board member who was actually a member of our leadership program. So we now have representation on our board from those that we've served through some of our leadership programs in CCISD.
And that gives it a very unique perspective.
It does, because I think that it helps keep us grounded. And I think having that voice is super important. I think also just balancing of age. I think sometimes you can get a board that is, full of seasoned members, which I think can be a good strength, but I think we also have to have fresh voice too. And so I'm super excited that we have some of those younger leaders in our Bay Area community who have graciously stepped up to serve on our board as well. So it's a pretty good balance.
Now, you guys always do such a great you guys always do really great at showing appreciation. Like I know I've been to some of your appreciation events, be it at Christmas time or one of the luncheons that you have for the community. How purposeful are you guys about doing that? Because it looks like you guys spend a lot of time and effort on it.
Well, I think we actually have our annual meeting coming up this week, and I have been reflecting on that because our theme is you have to have heart to make a difference. And I think that people, they like to serve, and I think there's definitely some component of something you get out of it naturally. But I think being acknowledged for that is just a step above. And I think that it's super important that we make sure that people know how important they are and that their contributions really are impactful, because I think that it's a possibility that you could just go through the motions and then never really understand that you have made this impact that people see. Mm-hmm. We see you, we appreciate you. And again, it goes back to that in 2010, we were sort of new on the horizon. How do we stand out? And I have worked for nonprofits for a lot of years, and I did work for a woman many years ago in another town and another nonprofit, and that's one thing she did really well was the acknowledgments, the thank yous, and I took that little piece and added it to my toolbox and really tried to instill that into our organization. Like one small thing, we send birthday cards. If we have your birthday, we're going to send you a birthday card. Our board signs it. It's a small token, but it's just a reminder, like, we think about you. We're appreciative of you and whatever way that you have played a role in the Alliance.
Well, it's almost like you're building genuine relationships, not only with the students, but also with your volunteers, your donors.
And I think that it's a good modeling for kids. I think we encourage our kids to do the same thing. When people do things for us, they write thank you notes. They do things to show appreciation. Our Salsa Kids, we've had several businesses sponsor lunch for their meetings this year, and so they've done big thank yous each time. And I think that if they can get into that habit, then I think that's a good life skill. Whether that's because they're interviewing for a job or getting a scholarship, they need to know that thanking and appreciating is just a really big, important part of adulthood.
So you said you'd been with the Alliance since 2010. You've really seen it grow and take off. What do you want to see in the next few years, next 5 years?
Well, our board shifted our mission statement this year to focus more on the social determinants of health, which is basically a complicated way of saying a holistic approach to prevention. So it's not just substance abuse prevention, it's behavioral health promotion. And I just want to see us continue to grow that, to look at the whole child rather than a specific issue or risk factor. I want to see our relationships with school districts grow. I'd love to see us just continue to serve more and more students who might fall through the cracks somewhere. And I want to see us continue to build strong and healthy partnerships with community businesses. We love being part of this chamber. It's been quite an honor this year to work with the Nonprofit Engagement Committee that's part of the chamber, because I think it's really critical that we take our nonprofits and our business communities and we figure out how we can work together to make the community just that much better.
Yeah, and the world's gotten so complex that I like the fact that you're shifting your focus away from something very narrow to more, like you said, holistic.
Well, you know what? If we're all tired of the C word, right? But I think COVID really did show us that we had kids who on paper looked like they had it all together, but they were missing some key coping skills or missing some things that, and so that's what the Alliance has been focused on for the last 2 years, is really helping families develop coping skills, because I think that is again, it's a skill for life. When you're stressed, what are positive ways to deal with that stress? Because stress doesn't end ever, I don't think. And so as long as we are, creating ways that we are teaching others, that we are modeling healthy ways of dealing with that, I think that we're going to address the other issues. But I think that if we don't do it holistically, then we're just not going to be as effective.
Yeah. So tell me one success story that you think embodies what the Alliance is all about.
Well, I've told this story before, and it's funny that it does have it ties back into the chamber. But right now we have a former student who is interning with us. And the student went through our salsa program, graduated from Clearview High School in 2016, went on to the University of North Texas, graduated in May during COVID, came home looking for a job when there were no jobs to be had, and asked to meet with me. And so we just kind of started talking, and Cecil said that they were interested in volunteering with us. And so it was like, great. We have kids who do that from time to time, and usually a couple of months, and they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to go on to my next. Well, 2 years later, Cecil's still here. Actually has just been accepted to a graduate program in Colorado. So they'll be leaving us this summer, but it's really been exciting to see it come full circle from being a part of our leadership program to running that salsa program at Clearview High School this year. And the growth has been incredible. And so I think that it really does underscore that if we invest in kids, whether through leadership skills, even just being that caring adult component, I think that we could really make a lasting impact on those kids that will become the leaders of tomorrow, that will develop the next leaders. And so I think that idea of generational change is huge, and one that I hope that the Alliance can just continue to grow on.
Well, you guys do great work.
Thanks.
Pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Anything else you want people to know about? Definitely Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, Dancing with the Stars, September 10th. We are super, super excited about it. I think, you know what, one thing that I wanted to tell you that I did not say is one of the big products that we have is medication take back. We've been doing this since 2010. We just, last weekend, surpassed 30,000 pounds of medications.
Wow.
So that's 30,000 pounds collected just from the Bay Area, and out of medicine cabinets and out of the hands of kids. And so I think we can't underestimate the impact that makes as well. So
yeah, it's a great program.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is that ongoing, or is that?
It is it's every April and October, but we also have medication disposal pouches. So if anybody has a need between then, they can reach out to us, and we have these things, and it's patent pending technology, and you can neutralize the drugs. We have permanent drop boxes, but let's empty those medicine cabinets and eliminate the risk.
Yeah, no, that's a great program, and I read that in the paper that you guys hit that milestone.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Really, when you think about it, like how much a pill weighs, and you just...
All right, so we talked about Dancing with the Stars. How do people get to be sponsors, tickets? Where can they get that information?
Well, we have a website. It's dancingwiththestarsbayarea.com. Has all the information about our sponsorships and tickets, pictures of our dancers, how to vote for our dancers. So really all the information that you could need. It's open to the public. With our move to the Doyle Center, we have a much larger capacity, and we're looking forward to a record crowd.
And you also mentioned that you have permanent drop boxes for the medication. Where are those located? We do. So there's one at Nassau Bay PD, and it's been there for several years. And then we just installed one at Kemah PD just in January. So both of those are open 24 hours a day, no questions asked. They do not take liquids or sharps, but any kind of pep meds, any kind of regular meds is absolutely... open, and they're excited to help you dispose of your meds that way. And we talked about you needing treasure. Every nonprofit needs treasure. Absolutely. But what about time, volunteers? Gosh, I think that we just looked at our volunteer stats for last year, but
the valuation was over $50,000, what volunteers have put into the Alliance this last year. And I think that there cannot be enough said for the importance of the community helping us. So it's like Circle of Care. You can't have 3 community caring adults partnered with this one at-risk student if you don't have any caring community adults. SALSA, the same way. You know, you've got to have the adult piece of that Student Adult Leadership Service Alliance. Even things like the medication takebacks and the volunteers that help us make that happen. So volunteers are always a key part of the Alliance, as well as I would say most nonprofits, because staff is always at a premium. And so that passionate volunteer is always welcomed and appreciated in terms of really making an impact.
And so if somebody really cares about kids and they want to get involved and volunteer, they need to get a hold of you?
Yes. Our website is thealliancebayarea.org. But you can also call our office, which is 281-284-0370.
Okay, great.
Thank you.